This week in the TV section, we have some unexpected movies that are about to become TV shows. Interesting. An update from The Office reboot that might actually make the fans happy for once. Plus, the American Gladiators is getting rebooted again, it would seem. So we're going to get into all of that. Hello, nerds. This is the weekly TV news show. Not like the evening news with Tom Brokaw. No, nothing like that. This has more to do with TV shows, nerdy-oriented TV shows, as well as episodic content that you will find on streaming platforms. If this is your kind of thing, then you can check out the full episode that I like to call The Week in Nerddom that covers all spectrum of pop culture and just generally nerdy things over on the main channel. You can find it linked down in the description or at the end of this video. All of that being said, let's talk about TV shows and nerdy stuff like that. Follow-ups and corrections is how we start every section, and this one is no stranger to that. We have a follow-up on The Office situation. Just the TLDR real quick. We do have an Office legacy-quel series. I'm not going to call it a reboot because it's not a reboot. Legacy sequel series, or Lega-sequel, if you will, that is going to be starring Domhnall Gleeson and Sabrina Impacciatore. If you don't know that second name, but you watch the White Lotus show on Max, then you will know who that is. She is the office or the hotel manager from season 2 of White Lotus. And then Domhnall Gleeson, obviously General Hux, and has been in a number of things like, Black Mirror, things like that. Yeah. So the reboot for The Office is not going to be a reboot. They have said this in no uncertain terms, that it is going to just exist in the same universe as the original Steve Carell Office. Very not likely that they're going to do it as the original UK Office universe, because I don't think those two necessarily crossed paths, except for Ricky Gervais coming in towards the end of Carell's run on the show as kind of an homage from where it came, but that was more of a fan service thing than anything sort of world building thing. But so like I said, this is very likely not going to be called The Office. That's the news part of this. Greg Daniels, who is once again serving as head writer and showrunner. According to his WGA, that's the Writers Guild of America, according to his WGA page, his bio on the website, the name of this new show very possibly is going to be called The Paper. The name The Paper took the spot of an undisclosed title of a project that he was working on that has the same release window as this Office sequel. Also it was a TV series, comedy, etc., etc. All of the check boxes have been marked with what this very likely is. So either he's working on something super similar to The Office, and it is also coming out at approximately the same time, or they've changed it from The Office to The Paper. Which, I don't know, is kind of a weird switch, but it's a good thing that they're not just kind of rebranding something new with old branding so that people automatically are built in to want to see it, because they're listening to our complaints. Sometimes. So let's move into trailers. We do have a couple of trailers that have launched this week for TV. The first one is the new animated Tomb Raider series over on Netflix. Legend of Lara Croft, rather. It launches October 10th. The trailer kind of doesn't do a whole lot for me, but the animation style is pretty good, so I can dig it. But then the other one we got is the Umbrella Academy Season 4. Yeah, Season 4. It will be the final season, and it launches August 8th. And this one kind of does a little bit. I didn't finish Season 3. It was just kind of meh. So I'm slightly intrigued because I didn't know how season 3 ended until this trailer launched, and so I had to go look into it. So I'm very intrigued to see where they go from there in this new season. And so maybe I'll give it a couple episodes, but we'll see. Let's get into now some regular ass news, and the first of 3.
Hey nerds, did you miss me? So this is just your weekly reminder to subscribe. That way, he feeds me and we can afford to do basically just the food things, yeah. Food's good. So if you subscribe, all you gotta do is like click that button, and it does a lot. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything. Just the energy to click a button, which if you don't got that, maybe you should check out the sponsor, because they'll help you with the energy. But either way, subscribe, do the thing. I really appreciate it, because I like food. And yeah, there we go. Let's get back to the news, shall we? Okay, bye.
Stories like this is 300. So what do I mean stories like this? What the hell why am I speaking so vaguely? We talked about it in the kind of the tease for the section and the tease for the main episode, in that streaming is not profitable. So they have to find ways that are cheap-ish shows to make, which, I don't know, that one I think is being taken into a little bit less consideration than B, it has to be something with a built-in audience. I think that is kind of the bigger driving factor with some of these stories. And the first of these is 300. So 300 is getting a series over on Max. Oh no, it's not. It hasn't been determined. I'm sorry. It's being developed by WB, but it has not been determined as to where it's going to be distributed, because apparently that kind of stuff is no longer relevant. Just because Warner Brothers is developing it doesn't mean they're going to put it out on their streaming service necessarily. So there's some other factors. I really haven't been able to decipher what those main factors are going to be. But of note here, Zack Snyder is coming to do it. He's in negotiations to be the showrunner for it. So if that is the case, then very likely it will actually go to Netflix, should it be Zack Snyder who becomes the showrunner for this show. It's going to be a prequel to the first 300 movie. It's not gonna do anything after the 302, right? 301, whatever you want to call the sequel. And that's really all we know right now. So if something comes of that, we will talk about it. But our next piece is in a similar vein. We have Hostel is getting a very similar treatment. So Eli Roth's torture porn franchise, if you haven't seen them, I don't know that you're really missing much. It's billed as horror, but it's just kind of gross out stuff. There's a bunch of jump scares that don't really work properly. There's a lot of like gross special effects that don't really serve their purpose either. So I'm not a fan of the Hostel franchise. Saw a little bit different for the first 3 movies, but Hostel just kind of felt like we're beating a dead horse at that point. Anyway, irrelevant. My take on it is not relevant to the news. The news is that Eli Roth is being approached to do this, with Paul Giamatti set to star. So Paul Giamatti, who was originally supposed to be in the first movie, is now coming to do the TV show version of it. Roth and Chris Briggs are going to be co-writers and also executive producers. I don't know that I got who's going to be showrunning it, if it was even announced, but they're billing this as a modern adaptation or a reinvention of the original 3 films. Hopefully that means they increase the quality of them, because like I said, not a fan. A platform has not been announced just yet. That is very likely still in the works. It is actively in development, and that's what we got on that one, so let's move on. Next up is another reboot for the American Gladiators. They tried this once. I believe Muhammad Ali's daughter was commentating for it, and maybe even The Rock was related to this somehow. But I know Muhammad Ali's daughter was one of the commentators. She was not one of the gladiators. I think that would have been a little bit more of a cool angle, but I don't know what the situation was there. But so this happened once before, and now we have MGM Alternative and Flor-Jon Films. The new series is going to feature classic events like the Gauntlet, Hang Tough, and the Eliminator, but that's really all we've got right now. This is such a weird situation that they're like, all right, so Gladiators is super, super cheap. Like legitimately one of the cheapest shows that came out around its time. If you watch any of the documentaries, because there's I think 2 documentaries about the American Gladiators, when it was originally out in the 90s, you'll see that it didn't cost them a whole lot of money to do. And that was kind of the big draw for it. And that's, I think, what happened when they did the first reboot on cable. Was it's cheap to do. I think the highest amount paid was to Muhammad Ali's daughter, and she wasn't there to do any of the combat stuff. She was just there to talk. So yeah, there is a lot of money to be made if they can do it right, but both of those ended so abysmally. Like, I'm very surprised that they would try it again, but they're trying it again. So there you go. And then our next one, staying in the realm of franchises that are now turning into TV series for some reason, we have Pixar has announced that they're working on a TV series based on Inside Out. We have Inside Out sequel happening, and now we have Inside Out series happening. The name of the Inside Out series is going to be called Dream Productions. So how exactly that ties into Inside Out remains to be seen, because if you remember in the first movie, there was that part of the brain that was called Dream Productions. That was all of the things that you dream about when you're asleep. So where are we going with that? Like that, how does... It doesn't. Okay, sure. But this is not going to be the first TV series that Pixar does. They are also currently working on another series called Win or Lose, which is another obviously animated series, but this one is based on a Little League team, and each episode of the season is going to be a different player on the team getting ready for, I think, like the finale, or what's the name of the big game for baseball? I can't think. But the big game at the end of the season, they're going to go do the tournament or whatever. And so this is like all of the different players gearing up for that, which I think is an interesting concept for a kids show. It's kind of higher level thinking, which is one of the things I think kids shows have been lacking in recent years, is higher level thinking. Just because a kid's brain doesn't go that direction automatically doesn't mean that it can't go that direction. And also, you got parents watching these shows with their kids too, so you want to do something that's going to engage them as well. So yeah, that seems like an interesting idea. But yeah, Pixar's doing two new animated series. One of them is based on the Inside Out. That's the long and the short of it. And then we have our final piece of news. This one is another gaming adaptation. This is Like a Dragon is going to be a live action series based on the Yakuza game franchise. Yakuza, now called Like a Dragon, hence the name of the show is Like a Dragon. They dropped the Yakuza title roundabout game number 9, I believe. It is coming to Prime, so that's why I say it is a streamer-wide situation. It's not just Disney's trying to scramble to get more money, so they said, hey, Pixar, give us a couple of series. It's not that HBO Max is trying to scramble and get a couple of different series going based on other properties or anything like that. This is all streamers are doing the thing. So Amazon Prime is going to be the ones that are footing the bill for Like a Dragon. It will be released in 2 separate instances. We are going to get the first part of the season October 25th, and then the second part of the season on November 1st. So approximately a week apart, which is smart, I think. Does not say exact. Oh, yes, it does. 6 episodes, so it's going to be 3 and 3, presumably. The show is set much like the game in Kamurocho, maybe. Follows Kazuma I'm not saying any of these names right. Kazuma Kiryu, and it's set in 2 different times. It's set in the 1995 as well as 2005. So both eras that we're talking about are previous. They're historical in nature, kind of, but it's fictional, so don't think that they're talking historically accurate. But yeah, that's what we got for the regular ass news. Let's talk about our suggestion this week so that we can kind of wet our palate and get the hell out of here. But suggestion for TV this week is How I Met Your Mother. It is now on Netflix. All 9 seasons are now on Netflix. This is one of the last great sitcoms. I think the only one that has come since How I Met Your Mother was Big Bang Theory. Everything else, sitcom-wise, it's been out since has been hot garbage. So go celebrate the fact that How I Met Your Mother is on Netflix. Go watch it. It's great. It's hilarious. It's good stuff. And yeah, I can't necessarily pick out one particular episode or one particular season that was really better than any of the rest of them. They're all solid all the way through. And Bob Saget is always a win. I don't care who you are. So that's your suggestion this week for TV. That brings us to the end of the video, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me for the news. Once again, there is a full and probably much more up-to-date and recent episode of the news, the full-length version, if you will, called The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, linked down in the description, and probably link popping up somewhere around my face right about now. So click on that, go check that out as well, or if you prefer your news in more truncated pieces, then by all means, just stick around here and go check out some of the other stuff we offer on this channel. Thank you very much for joining me. We will see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember, nerds, that if it is generally nerdy, it's probably here.